They say one picture can spark a million rumors, but this one? It could burn an entire marriage to the ground. Because just hours ago, the internet was rocked by a photograph no one saw coming. Kirk Frost, reality star, music manager, and the man who built a life and brand alongside Rasheeda, caught looking far too comfortable with none other than Toni Braxton. Yes, that Toni Braxton. The Grammy-winning legend, the iconic voice behind Unbreak My Heart, and the last person anyone expected to see shoulder to shoulder with a man whose name screams reality TV scandal. Now the internet is in flames. Fans are outraged, the blogs are going wild, and Rasheeda? Silent. Completely silent. But the silence is only making the noise louder. And the one question echoing everywhere is brutal. Is this the final straw? Because let's be real, we've seen Kirk cheat, we've seen Rasheeda forgive, and we've witnessed babies, separations, and tearful public apologies. But this time feels different. The kind of different that could shatter everything the Frosts built together. And here's the crazy part. It all started with a single blurry photo. No PR spin, no staged announcement. Just one grainy shot, raw and intimate, of Kirk Frost and Toni Braxton grinning side by side, looking like they had nothing to hide. Kirk in a crisp white tee, leaning in close, eyes locked on Toni, who's rocking an off-shoulder blouse with a sly smirk that fans couldn't ignore. The internet didn't wait for an explanation, it detonated instantly. Fans zoomed in, frame by frame, analyzing everything. The posture, the angle, the hand placement. And then came the detail that sent everyone over the edge. Kirk wasn't wearing his wedding ring. Within minutes, his name was trending across X. Reddit lit up with theories. Instagram feeds flooded with captions like, "Not again, Kirk, and Rasheeda deserves better." But here's the kicker. It wasn't just about the photo. It was about the history. Because when a man with Kirk Frost's track record, cheating scandals, public humiliation, and a marriage barely held together, gets caught in a cozy moment with an R&B legend like Toni Braxton, fans don't need evidence. They already know the script. And this time, they weren't buying excuses. One furious commenter wrote, "We've heard that it's just business, lie before." Another said, "This isn't about Toni, it's about Rasheeda finally realizing he'll never change." The silence from all three, Kirk, Toni, and Rasheeda, only poured gasoline on the fire. And for fans who've watched Rasheeda endure years of betrayal, this wasn't just disappointing. It was heartbreaking. Because if anyone has earned peace in her marriage, it's Rasheeda Frost. She stood tall when the world mocked her. She defended Kirk when his scandals made headlines. She stayed when the cameras turned her pain into entertainment. And now, after years of sacrifice, what does she get? A viral photo of her husband grinning in Toni Braxton's face, while Rasheeda's name trends beside the word divorce. The betrayal isn't just private, it's public, messy, and humiliating. Fans erupted. Hashtags like #FreeRasheeda started trending within hours. Influencers who once dragged her for staying with Kirk suddenly switched sides, begging her to finally walk away. The internet screamed déjà vu, but this time the tone was darker. The silence was heavier. And the public wasn't willing to forgive. Because Rasheeda didn't just protect Kirk Frost's reputation, she sacrificed her own. She absorbed the blows of his mistakes, turned her pain into branding, and built an empire while carrying the shame of a man who repeatedly embarrassed her. And now, in a single snapshot, it feels like all of that loyalty meant nothing. Fans are done watching her get humiliated. But here's the thing, this isn't the first time Kirk Frost's betrayals cut deep. And what fans started digging up next ripped open scars from one of the ugliest chapters. So here's where we're at. Young Thug, the man who once stood at the top of the rap pyramid, is now a symbol of scandal, betrayal, and chaos. Beaten in jail, mocked online, abandoned by friends, and whispered about in conspiracy circles. And yet, the question hanging in the air is louder than ever. Was this the end of Young Thug's reign, or just the opening scene of a much bigger disaster waiting to unfold? Because if this was just the opening act, then the encore could be catastrophic. And catastrophic it was, because just as the world was still reeling from the attack, the legal hammer started swinging harder than ever. Within 48 hours, prosecutors filed a new motion in court, arguing that young Thug had become a security liability and should be transferred to an undisclosed facility for his own safety. Translation? Lock him away deeper, make him even harder to reach, and control every whisper of his existence. To fans, this wasn't protection, it was punishment disguised as mercy. A silencing tactic. And the internet, of course, ate it up. Blogs reported that the DA's office had already been sitting on sealed evidence, linking Thug to even more scandals, waiting for the perfect storm to release it. Now, with his credibility shredded by both leaked interrogation tapes and the fresh humiliation of being jumped in jail, the timing couldn't have been better. They dragged out stories about a 2015 bus shooting, mysterious financial records, and even hinted that federal agencies had their eye on him again. For the prosecution, the attack was like free PR. It painted Thug as weak, vulnerable, and unreliable, the perfect image to exploit in court. Meanwhile, social media turned into a war zone. Hashtags split the fanbase into camps. Hashtag protect Thug versus hashtag Thug told. One side demanded justice, saying the system had failed yet another black artist, while the other mocked him mercilessly for being caught in his own web of lies. Memes of him in a rat costume now shared space with fan art of him as a fallen king, crown shattered on the floor. The duality was brutal, hero to some, villain to others, clown to many. And the business world? It smelled blood in the water. Industry executives began whispering about pulling back investments from Atlanta's rap scene altogether, worried that the YSL scandal was proof the city had become too toxic for mainstream sponsorships. Rumors swirled that labels were considering buying out Ghana's contract to distance him from Thug once and for all. Imagine that, the protege walking free, while the mentor rots in chaos. It wasn't just betrayal, it was business. Cold, calculated, heartless business. But the fallout didn't stop there. Reports emerged that investigators were reopening old files, combing through every lyric, every video, every financial transaction connected to Thug. Suddenly, his music wasn't just art, it was evidence. Court filings cited bars from mixtapes as admissions of guilt. Prosecutors claimed one video shoot had doubled as a gang meeting. The walls weren't just closing in, they were crushing him. And fans couldn't decide whether to scream in outrage or shrug and say, well, he asked for it. Then came the strangest twist of all, a second leaked interrogation video, this time showing Thug whispering, "Don't tell the world. I'll tell you anything you want, just don't tell the world." That line hit like a nuclear bomb. It didn't matter if the clip was real, edited, or AI generated. Once it hit TikTok, it was gospel. Every news outlet replayed it. Every influencer reacted to it. Every rival rapper quoted it in captions. That one sentence became the nail in his cultural coffin. The man who built a career calling out rats now looked like the biggest one of all. Charleston White, never one to miss a chance to pour gasoline on the fire, went live cackling. "I told y'all, didn't I? 6 more months in there, and he'd break." Well, he broke sooner than that. The streets don't belong to Thug no more. They belong to the truth, and the truth is he told. His words, ridiculous yet entertaining, spread like wildfire. Fans reposted clips of him like he was a prophet. Whether you hated him or not, you had to admit Charleston had called it months ago. And here's the cruel irony. For all the leaks, all the attacks, all the betrayals, the system still hadn't proved its biggest case. Years of prosecution, millions spent, countless headlines, and the murder charges, the big ones, were still unproven. Yet somehow, perception had done the job anyway. Young Thug was branded, damaged, and cornered, whether guilty or not. His biggest punishment wasn't prison, it was reputation. And in hip-hop, that can be a life sentence all by itself. So, what happens next? Will the DA succeed in pushing him into deeper isolation? Will his label cut ties quietly while cashing in on his royalties? Will allies like Ghana and Lil Baby step up or keep their distance? Or will Thug attempt a final comeback from the shadows, using the chaos to rebuild his image like a phoenix from the flames? The only certainty is this: the attack inside Fulton County wasn't just about fists and bruises. It was about power, perception, and politics. A message sent in blood and whispers. And whether you see young Thug as a victim of the system, a hypocrite finally exposed, or just another fallen star, one truth remains: his story isn't finished. Not by a long shot. Because if history has taught us anything, it's that in hip-hop, downfall and resurrection are just two sides of the same beat. And right now, the world is waiting for the next drop.